time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Bo, Sheila, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Bo, Sheila, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings on Birds with Friends.
All I know is Zach said he has a game where he'll don't read both 7,000 and I said, I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it.
And so the purpose of
that's what I needed was not to get at least one more reader. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Friday late morning edition of Birds with Friends, the Week 3 preview podcast. Bo Wolf here, Zach Berman there, Marissa Morris there, and Sheil. Everybody's dying to know. How you doing?
Where's Katasqua? Katasqua? Have you heard of this town?
Sounds like a Canadian place.
No, it's in PA.
Oh.
Catasauqua, PA. Whoever calls me from Catasauqua, PA, every day at 11:37, take a hint. I'm not answering. I'm never gonna answer, and move on.
I wonder if it's near Blue Balls. That's a place in PA, right?
I think it's Blue Ball, I believe.
I don't think it's plural. Yeah.
There's actually I think there's a Blue Ball Avenue nearby, like in Glen Mills.
There is, like if you drive, there's like an overhang on the
side
highway.
road. Yeah, Blue Ball Avenue. Yep.
Yeah. Well, good place to be.
We're about 30 seconds into this podcast.
Seriously. I think that'll do it for today's pod. Thanks to everyone who joined us. Bo and Zach will be back Sunday. Yeah, Bo was a disaster before this podcast. He was yawning. He was like,
man.
You know, when you stretch in public, usually you do like a minimized stretch. Bo wasn't having it. I mean, he was all out. He was airing out the armpits and everything.
No, it wasn't armpits. It wasn't like a.
Oh, really? I thought they were up there. You were reaching for the skies.
I don't think so.
All right, let's get to
that's
it.
Right.
I don't want to be here that long.
We've got plenty to get to. We will do our Crow Thine Enemy for a Bengals team that we don't know very well, but has some familiar faces over there. Mm-hmm. We will have our Ally You Know draft. We will maybe potentially have the return of a favorite segment, the Tweet Striker. But before we do that, let's get to the news on the street. Bird on the street. Let's bring in the Stone Cold Newsman, Zachy Berm. Fantastic.
Great job.
Part of my weekend right there.
So the news this week, going into the game, what you need to monitor is the status of Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox is going to be a game day decision. He's dealing with an oblique injury. The Eagles are practicing as we speak or any minute now. And when they're out there, Fletcher Cox is going to try to get some work in, has not practiced yet this week. This is going to be a close call and obviously an important injury, one of the most important players on the team. At practice yesterday, Alshon Jeffrey was out there for the first time since last December, had his helmet on, was catching passes. That's a sign of progress, but you're not going to see him on the field Sunday. Doug Peterson said this morning, Alshon is not going to play. So you can't count on Alshon there. Jalen Reagor still on the 53-man roster. I would imagine goes on IR anytime now. He underwent surgery yesterday. This was per his Instagram. He posted the after shot of the hand in the cast. So that's going to take some time. The Eagles used that 53rd roster spot that they had opened when they put Isaac Seumalo on IR. They used that on Trevor Williams. So Trevor Williams now is on the 53. The Eagles have some promotions to make, but as Bo Wolf alluded to, they could also put Jalen Reagor on IR and then sign someone from the practice squad, and that could be Elijah Riley, who they did not protect. So monitor that in the next 24 hours as well. And then the last thing I will say is that we discussed on the Wednesday podcast about the right guard, left guard situation, that Nate Herbig was playing left guard and that Matt Pryor was playing right guard. And Bo speculated that might be because Jason Peters does not want to be close to Matt Pryor. That very well might be the case, but that is not the case that Doug Peterson said. Doug Peterson said the reason.
Be funny if he did say that.
Yeah, he said the reason why they made this change was that Matt Pryor is more comfortable on the right side. That is where he started last year. That is where he played. That doesn't explain why they had him at left tackle for 2 weeks. Nonetheless, he said Nate Herbig has been their guy who they've played in multiple spots. So Nate Herbig is more comfortable on the left side than Matt Pryor.
Can I just say, you just killed that
segment. I was going to say, I feel like the music just raised his level.
Yeah.
Like that was like a Sports Center hit or something.
That was a full-on NFL Network. Let's go to Zach Berman.
Your hands are going all over the place.
I got to
be
honest with
you.
The morning podcasts are so much better for me than the night one.
You can see how that's working out for me. Total flip
I mean,
side.
I'm ready to end this thing.
This is my time right here. This is when I'm most productive. So when I'm already ruining or like worried about the Sunday night game, San Francisco in a few weeks, next week, that podcast might be 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Sorry, Marissa. These are the Bo Wolf rules. And I'm going to be a zombie during that one. This is my hour right here. If we did the podcast at like 6 a.m., I would be bouncing off walls.
I mean, I joked last time about NBC Sports like getting a glimpse of this and hiring us. I mean, they might be hiring Zach.
Yeah, we're done.
He might not be here next Friday. I mean, wow. The TV chops there. Unbelievable.
That was unbelievable.
Someone's commenting on, they said he should be a professional shopper because his clothes fit so well. I agree with that. I mean, geez, I don't know what's going on here.
Big football game Sunday.
Just outstanding stuff. All right, well, let's talk about the Fletcher Cox part of that because as Shield told us, Javon Hargrave, not exactly a great Eagles debut in week 2. What's your sense of whether we will actually see Fletcher Cox, Zach?
It's hard to say, because we haven't seen him at practice yet. So it's hard to say. I really think this is going to come down to game day. Like Doug said, I would go into this for the sake of conversation, assuming that either he's not playing or he's going to be limited if he does play. So for the sake of conversation, more of an onus on Javon Hargrave to show that he's a $13 million player.
Shield, not. Do you think he's going to play? But what do you think it means if he doesn't play?
Well, I think Malik Jackson has been outstanding, and Zebron probably hasn't taken enough whiffs about it's only 2 games, but I think he's been maybe their best or second best defensive player along with Darius Slay. I mean, he's shown up both weeks. It hasn't been sort of garbanzo beans reps where, he's unblocked or the offensive line screws up an assignment. Like we've seen him pretty consistently beating opposing offensive linemen. I know ESPN has that stat pass rush win rate, which we've talked about previously, which is just, did you produce pressure within 2.5 seconds? And Malik Jackson, league wide, I think was the best or second best defensive tackle through the first 2 games. So I do think he's a key player in this game. The Bengals have all kinds of offensive line issues, specifically on the interior. So I feel fine about Malik Jackson. Javon Hargrave, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the guy's healthy or not. So we will see. Maybe he was just sort of getting his legs underneath him last year in his first action after being thrown in with no practice. And maybe he'll be really good this week. And, the rant last week will be all for naught. But this is a team that can certainly run the ball, and Joe Mixon is a guy who can make people miss and fight through contact and all these different types of things. So not having Fletcher Cox, he has been good against the run at least the first 2 weeks. What are you cracking up there, Steve Vallos?
Well, a couple things. One, you said he should be taking more of a whiff on Malik Jackson. I was going to say it was funny. We got a very rare preemptive whiff from Zach last night on a text message that we were all 3 included on. Before the Jags game, he said, "Just so you guys know, I'm ready to I'm ready to take a whiff if Laviska Shenault has a big game." And he sent us this screenshot of our wide receiver rankings from before the draft. Big game for Laviska, 5 catches for 33 yards. But I enjoyed the preemptive whiff, which is a new a new development that I hadn't seen.
Look, I'm still taking the whiff on that one. I mean, did you watch him last night? He looked good. I put the quarterback. He had that catch in the first quarter.
That was very nice.
He ripped it away from 3 people.
Yeah.
I love
feeling himself this week. What is what kind of, I don't know what's gotten into Z-Berm this week. It's I mean, I feel like his confidence is always at a nice level, but I feel like it's taken to another level
it's
here.
Z-Berm week.
What's happened in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, is there something else going on? What do we got?
No, it's honestly, it's the morning pod. I think if I did an assessment of all my podcasts and I ranked them, which I could see you doing.
Yeah, yes. You probably have a running list.
The later the podcast, the worse I do, the worse I speak. My thoughts aren't cogent. Mornings are when I'm best. So I love the 11:30 kickoff.
But that doesn't explain the 7 p.m. preemptive whiff on Laviska.
So I'll tell you what that one was. I was on Twitter and I saw all these. That's a flex. I saw all these tweets from like writers and analysts being like, "It's Laviska Shenault tonight." I was on our real time app and our fantasy analyst said you need to have Laviska Shenault in your lineup. So I was seeing all the Shenault buzz, and I haven't watched the Jags yet this year because of our jobs, and there hasn't been any reason to watch.
You're not going to go out of your way to watch the Jags.
Yeah, and they haven't played any of the Eagles' opponents yet. So all I've seen was the stat line. So I was very curious to see that, and I always think that like if I did it after the fact, then it's like, oh, that's convenient. So you have to do it before the fact. And those draft rankings.
But it was a before the fact, for after the fact. It was nice.
Exactly. Yeah. So I went back to read those articles before the draft. And I shared this with you guys, but I'll say this publicly as well. In our second wide receiver column we had, which was like the day 3 players to look out for, there was a category, speed receivers to watch, and Sheil and Bo both picked Quez Watkins, and I picked John Hightower. The Eagles took both of them there. So obviously there's
another flex.
There's a limited pool of players. No, that's not a flex. I was just
on the secret solid today, my friends. Wow.
I bring that up as a way of saying it was pretty resourceful to go back and read what we said before the draft.
Well, if you wanted to know who the Eagles were going to draft, you could have subscribed to The Athletic at theathletic.com/birds-with-friends. Get yourself a good deal. The other thing I was laughing at was, the Malik Jackson whiff from Zach. We're doing this thing on The Athletic where you and Mike Sando are going to be doing an expansion draft, a mock expansion draft next week. And so the Eagles, every beat writer has to protect 25 players on the team. And I texted Zach. I had a list of 26 guys. I needed to whack one.
Oh.
And right away, he goes, Malik Jackson. So there you go.
Get rid of Malik Jackson?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's available?
Malik
Jackson's
Jackson's
the rationale for this?
Of course, he's in the last year of his contract. Yeah. That's why, right?
I think context was required. This was this was going into the season.
Right.
Okay. So as if the expansion draft was during
we do use the information we have from the first 2 weeks.
But going into the season, the Eagles have 3 of the top 10 paid defensive tackles in the NFL. So if one of them is the oldest and is coming off a major injury, that would probably be the contract that you want to expose. I'm fascinated, by the way, to see how this expansion draft goes, because I thought what the Las Vegas Golden Knights did a few years ago was brilliant. They basically enticed teams to give them a sweetener to take the players they don't want, or not to take the player the team want. I explained that incorrectly, but basically they used a lot of strategy. It's totally different than the way expansion drafts were 20 years ago. And that's how they built a Stanley Cup team in year 1.
Well, the exercise is because I think it's going to be 90s week, right? On The Athletic. And so we looked back but I was looking at the rules from the actual expansion draft. Garbanzo beans. I mean, teams had to make 6 players available. Yeah. I was like, so at first we were thinking of this exercise. I'm like, we can't do that. This will be the most boring thing anyone reads on The Athletic. We'll be drafting guys nobody, people who have never heard of, and you can't really field a team. Obviously, in that situation, the Panthers and the Jaguars are getting the top 2 picks in the draft, but we're just doing this as as an exercise.
And you're only allowed to take 2 players from no more than 2 players from a single team?
I don't know if we've decided that yet.
Okay.
I was kind of saying we shouldn't do that because if you're taking a bunch of guys from one team that, for the purpose of this exercise, maybe that'll tell us that it's a deep team. I don't think that's going to be that much of an issue. I mean, every team's basically all their starters are being protected. So you're really
That's not what I did.
Oh, okay.
The Eagles, there's some contracts they'd like to get out from under.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, then that's where we have to decide. Do we want to take on crappy contracts?
I mean, if you want Brandon Brooks, you can take Brandon Brooks.
Oh, you did it. Wow.
Well, that's a good one.
Brandon Brooks.
If Mike Sando wants Alshon on his team, he can have Alshon.
Okay.
Jason Peters, you can have. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, you can have.
Okay.
And then the other rule that you guys had was only one quarterback, so that puts the Eagles in a bind. You might want Jalen Hurts.
Some interesting quarterback decisions made by so our beat writers are deciding who to protect, and your boy Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to be available. Jalen Hurts will be available. Jordan Love will be available. So I think that will make it fun. So look for that next week on The Athletic.
All right. Anything else on the news front we should discuss? Anything else we heard from Doug this morning that's important?
No, those were the big topics from Doug, and I imagine we'll intersperse other commentary.
Do you think Matt Pryor over under 1.5 weeks of Matt Pryor as the starting right guard? Do you think he's the starting right guard next week as well?
No.
Who do you think is?
Driscoll or Brown?
Okay.
I mean, I agree with that.
So why don't you think that's the case this week?
Good question.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, I think maybe not enough practice time there.
Well,
I also thought Herbig was going to lose the job. So,
look,
I'm not the one to trust.
In Driscoll's case, they've had to keep him as like Lane Johnson insurance before Lane Johnson played. So he had been playing right tackle. So they might want Driscoll to have more time there. And Jamon Brown's in his second week with the team.
If you want to get really into the weeds of roster machination, I'm expecting Luke Juriga to be called up for this game because I don't think the Eagles want to rely on only Herbig as the backup center without Sayamalu.
And they did protect
I don't
him
want to
this
get into that deep roster machinations.
I assumed not. That was more to Zach and Marissa. Marissa likes backup O-line talk. Okay. Well, let's get into Crowline. This Cincinnati Bengals team, 0-2. They've got an exciting young quarterback, but not much else going on. And a team that, we don't see very often, once every 4 years. So, Sheila, why don't we start with the Bengals offense? Zach Taylor, Press's brother, Joe Burrow, and they're, a week after Sean McVay pantses the Eagles defense, here comes a guy who coached under McVay, and they've got that heavy 11 personnel.
Yeah, I mean, that is obviously a key point here, right? Zach Taylor coached with Sean McVay. He watched that film last week, and so it would stand to reason that he would try to copy a lot of the things or play off the wrinkles that Sean McVay used last week that had this Eagles defense completely flummoxed. So that is a key big storyline to keep an eye on.
Both Zach the other day and you pulling out flummox, which I haven't heard in a while. Great word.
Okay.
If I could just add something in real quick while we're on this topic, though, not the flummox topic. Zach Taylor was specifically asked this question in the conference call yesterday. And, of course, he's not going to say, yeah, we're taking Sean McVay's game plan and we're doing that. But he made a point of saying, like, the personnel that the Rams have is it's a lot more experienced in that scheme than his personnel is. So he said
throwing his guys under the bus.
A lot of those guys under the bus. Wow.
A lot of those guys he came in with in 2017 and they're still there. So that was the point he made. But certainly, he'll look at what Sean McVay did.
Well, it is a fair point. It's not like they just run a blueprint of the Rams offense. I mean, Zach Taylor has coached in different schemes, and so he's trying to create this new offense in Cincinnati. They've taken LSU concepts. They're in empty a lot of times with Joe Burrow 5 out in the routes and just get the ball out of your hands and make up for offensive line deficiency. So they're still trying to figure out how to put this all together. But the point of whether it's some of the misdirection, whether it's some of the naked bootlegs, whether it's the end arounds, the jet sweeps, I mean, certainly I think you would see some of those because the Eagles did not adjust to those throughout the entire course of the game. And I've said this going back to like 2 years ago, that if I were an opposing offensive coordinator, the first series, I'm doing something to slow down the Eagles defensive ends, whether it's a bootleg, a jet sweep, a zone read where the quarterback keeps it, because we've seen Brandon Graham and these other defensive ends, they love crashing from the backside and really getting those tackles for loss against the run game. So that's something to keep an eye on early. The issue with this Bengals offense is the offensive line. They made moves to try to upgrade it in the offseason. Specifically, they get Jonah Williams, who was a first-round pick in 2019. He missed all of his rookie season. He's back.
He's got short arms, too.
At left tackle.
For all my short arms fans.
Okay. So it hasn't been great. I mean, if you watch that Thursday night game in week 2, Joe Burrow was certainly taking a lot of hits, but he did drop back over 60 times. So when you drop back that many times, you are going to take some hits. In pass block win rate, they rank 21st. So they haven't been like a complete disaster so far through the first 2 weeks of the season. Their run game, their run blocking has been terrible. So Joe Mixon really hasn't had a shot. This goes back to last year. If you watch the Bengals, it was the same thing. I mean, I don't know that there's a running back who faces defenders behind the line of scrimmage more than Joe Mixon does. But man, he really can make the first person miss. He can break tackles.
People love Joe Mixon.
I think he's really good. I think if you watch him, he's a really good player in a terrible situation. Like if you put him with a mediocre run blocking team, I think he would be putting up really big numbers. 2 years ago, he did put up really big numbers. So that's the run game. In the passing game, they've got like good receivers on paper. AJ Green, Tyler Boyd. They're deep at wide receiver. They've got this guy Mike Thomas. They've got Auden Tate. They've got John Ross. So they've got 5 different. What are you cracking up at?
Because Zach wants you to name his boy.
T. Higgins.
Oh, T. Higgins.
Yes.
Oh, T. Higgins. Yeah, he's on the team too.
5 targets last week, right?
Zach said if T. Higgins makes a big catch, he's going to be cheering in the press box.
That was off the record. That was off the record. Okay, there is no cheering in the press box ever. So no, it was a figure of speech. That was.
I even like Alex Erickson.
Okay. I was thinking the Eagles should be like keeping 1 or 2 of these guys after the game. I mean, throw a conditional 7th and say, I mean, Auden Tate wasn't even active for them last week. The guy had over 500 receiving yards last year.
Here's what you do.
He would be a starter for the Eagles.
Here's what you do. You sign Cordy Glenn before the game, get him to walk over to the Bengals sideline, sort of take everybody's attention away. Zach Taylor was worried about what's going to happen, and then somebody else comes behind and grabs Auden Tate and just brings him back into the Eagles locker room.
Then do you have Press Taylor dress up as the Bengals head coach, call plays for them? Zach comes over. He's the Eagles pass game coordinator. I mean, I don't really know what that would lead to, but it goes back to your point about them looking very similar.
Oh yeah, maybe you do. Maybe that's what you do after the game. You have Press Taylor, dressed in regular clothes, not his game day outfit, walk over to the Bengals locker room and just pull Tyler Boyd aside and say, "Hey, listen,
I need to talk to you.
Tough news. We just traded you to the Eagles, so you're gonna have to go in over here."
Yeah,
they speak similarly. Zach is taller than Press.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, if a player is tall to begin with, is he really going to notice how shorter the guy is?
Speak for yourself there, right? Zach Taylor, he played down the Taylor Bowl here. So, which look, I understand there's like a coach speak part of this. It's just another game. Their father has a trophy in their house for their games that they coached against each other, right? Clearly, and if you're doing anything against your brother, you want to beat him. That would be I think that's the response to go with. Of course, this is a big game. If I was playing checkers against my brother, I would want to beat him. So that's
which one?
That's the quote. Not the it's just another game for both of us, but for our families, it's a big deal. Come on.
What's the angriest you ever got at a competition with one of your 700 brothers?
We played a lot of basketball growing up, and they usually ended. It was
pushing and shoving, or what?
So, sometimes a little more.
Really? Whoa, a little more. Punches?
I mean,
anyone ever throw a punch?
Look, we'll save that for off the pod.
Oh, come on! We got thousands viewing this to hear about the Bourbon Bros. All right.
And just a lot.
Which of your brothers would you most want to beat in checkers?
In checkers?
That's what you said before. Checkers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I use that as a figure of speech. I wouldn't play checkers against them.
All right, how about horse?
Shoots and ladders.
You see, I'm not very good at it. I'm not a good shooter. That's the problem. So
really, I thought that would be like the strength of your game.
No, I wish I was a good shooter. Okay. But definitely my brother Matt.
Okay, he's the best shooter. Or he's the one that you have the most intense competition.
He's the one I would try to beat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
There are five brothers.
There are 4 brothers and a sister, 6 kids.
Okay. Oh yeah, so there are 5 Berman brothers.
There are 5 boys. 5 boys. Yeah.
Give us the if you guys.
Right, we don't need to do this on the podcast.
No, this is good. Starting lineup. The starting lineup for a basketball team. Who's playing what positions based on skill sets?
Well, I mean, I would say none of us are tall, so there's no centers. So we're like the Houston. Let's say
you're playing a family of equally sized opponents.
That would not be a fun game to watch.
You're going on skill set.
Well, I mean, I think 3 of my brothers, Matt, Alex, and Nick are probably the best basketball players in that group, and then Josh and I are the worst basketball players in that group. I'd say so. But anyways, we don't need
you're gonna be hearing about it from Josh. Oh man,
no, there's a football
Josh
game.
Josh, jeez.
No, he has his different sports. Let's focus on the game at hand here. Okay,
this is the game at hand. Yeah, I mean the Eagles are 0-2. This is 2 0-2 teams. Who's really interested in the football game?
Yeah, we've got some comments here where someone says off the record with the tears coming out, knowing that nothing's off the record, and then the next comment is, when will Zach learn that everything is fodder for the podcast? That's a very valid question. I think. All right, what were we talking about? The Bengals. Someone thinks you will have a trophy for when your kids compete against each other. So I don't know if you're like absolutely, or if you think that's not the case. But one of our listeners thinks that you will.
I don't think so, but I like that idea. It's funny.
All right.
Okay. Anything else on the Bengals? Well, I mean, we haven't really talked about the Eagles defense, but go ahead.
Well, the one thing is Joe Burrow and AJ Green have not gotten on the same page. I mean, this has been one of the least efficient combinations through the first 2 weeks. I don't have a strong feeling about whether AJ Green is kind of, is just age showing up and he's not the player he used to be. Does it just take time? As Doug Peterson reminded us, you need 7,000 reps before a quarterback and a wide receiver can complete a pass. Maybe it's that, but if you look at it through 2 games, Burrow is 8 for 22 for 80 yards when targeting AJ Green. So, that is something to keep in mind. Tyler Boyd, on the other hand, has been fantastic. He's 11 for 13 for 105 yards when targeting Boyd. Boyd will line up in the slot a lot. So, Nickel Roby-Coleman, hopefully you get a better performance from him than you did last week.
Now, do we think that Slay is going to follow AJ Green all over the field?
Good question.
I would guess not. Do you think so? No, I would guess.
I don't know. It's tough because Boyd is their best receiver, but Boyd is going to be in the slot, so you're not going to do that.
Yeah, but you probably don't want Avonte Maddox on AJ Green though, right?
Yeah. I think maybe he does. Maybe he does follow him.
Yeah. Now Avonte and Boyd had some matchups in practice at Pitt. They know each other well. So
Boyd was 2 years older or 1 year older?
Maybe 2 years older. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Boyd was I like a Boyd. Boyd was a Fran Duffy favorite, I believe. So shout out to the Duff man. Okay. Anything else on this matchup? This side of the matchup?
Do you want to? This side of the matchup? No. I mean, we'll get to our Eagles stuff later, but that's the Bengals side of it.
Okay. How about this Bengals defense? A defensive coordinator who, if you had said his name 2 days ago, I would have no idea what he was. Why I was supposed to know who he was.
Conspicuous? Is that the word? Is he the most conspicuous coordinator in the NFL?
He probably is.
When I was doing the nerd guides, I definitely was like, oh, yeah, of course. Lou Anarumo. How could I forget?
Get Arumo. Lou
Anarumo. Hey, stop putting so much. What are you doing, Anarumo? So it is fun if you're a Bengals fan and you want to criticize the defense.
Like two guys, Lou and his wife holding hands on the street. Hey, get a Rumo, and a Rumo.
So the big story with him,
kind of bad, yeah.
Or not with him, but
reminds me of there's a when Danilo Gallinari played for the Nuggets. There was one time where he hit a 3 on the sideline, and the Nuggets bench, they all celebrated and doing that like. Very funny.
Love that. Yeah, that Bengals should be adopting that.
Yeah,
bunch of Cincinnatians,
So Zach Taylor took a while to hire his defensive coordinator. Lou was not hired until like late February, if I recall. And this became a big story. Like, what's he doing? You hear all these coaches who come prepared with like all these defensive coordinators they want to hire. And it took it took weeks. Like, he was hired early January, or actually he wasn't officially hired until after the Super Bowl that year. But he was in conversation for a while, and then they did not hire the defensive coordinator until late February.
Well, there's always the reports or rumors about that franchise maybe not willing to pay up for top talent in various spots. And certainly that was a question with their coaching staff last year. So I wish I could tell you Anarumo has this, this is exactly what his defense is. It's basically been throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall for over a year, which is not a bad move because their personnel has been bad, but like they don't have big man zone tendencies. They didn't have big blitz tendencies last year. They didn't have big coverage tendencies. Like, they were middle of the pack, man zone, all these different types of things. Now this year they have blitzed quite a bit through the first 2 weeks here, but they've been terrible against the run. They were bad against the run on Thursday night. The Browns had a drive in the fourth quarter with the game still competitive where they just had 6 plays and went 75 yards, ran the ball 6 straight times and scored a touchdown. Their tackling has been terrible. Jesse Bates, their safety, I would say, is a player to certainly target in this game. He's not bad. He's okay. I didn't think he was very good in that game. And I remember watching the Bengals big plays before doing the Nerd Guide last year, and he was in the middle of quite a few of those. But they signed Von Bell at safety, who was with the Saints. He's more of a box safety. They signed Mackenzie Alexander, who is a slot cornerback, who was with the Vikings last year. William Jackson at cornerback, outside corner, who is has the talent to be a very good player. And then up front, they signed DJ Reader, who is like I describe him as like the player who opposing offensive coordinators in the games leading up to Bengals games every week, they're always like, this DJ Reader doesn't get enough credit. This guy can just absolutely wreck a run game. So he's a run stuffing nose tackle. I think
but they haven't stuffed the run yet. So.
They haven't because it takes more than one run stuffing nose tackle apparently to become good against the run. So not the most talented group.
Yeah, I mean the Browns ran all over them last Thursday night. So you would expect that, especially given no Jalen Reagor, there's a good chance the Eagles are going to try to lean on Miles Sanders in this this
Or do they say that's what Anarumo's expecting?
You got to zig when they zag.
You got to zig when Anarumo zags. That's how you beat the Bengals.
Anarumo's expecting a nice hoagie with mortadella and prosciutto, but instead you're going to give him the meatball sub.
Pastificios. You should visit there before this game.
Zach just shaking his head.
A pasta fagioli.
I just want to say I'm not getting involved in this in this bit. I am staying. Marissa, let the record stay. I am staying as far away from possible as this bit.
Marissa has given us our Italian roots here. This is good.
So Zach.
Sounds like my family talking. So
yeah, you should be jumping.
I don't know what bit you're talking about.
All right. Everybody loves the tweet striker, and we can get into that now. And the randomization pulled up our boy Joey Burrow, and this Bengals team, got to say, a lot of likable people in this organization. You've got former Eagle great Colt Anderson, who we all love, as the assistant special teams coordinator.
Oh, okay.
Which explains why they were good on special teams. You've got James Casey, my guy.
First one in the building.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Like, James Casey was famous during his time with the Eagles for getting there so early. Like he was one of those 545 guys in the building, and it became a thing. Whenever someone spoke about James Casey, they would always be like, first one in. Such a hard worker, first one in. So that was that's how I always think of James Casey.
He's their tight end coach.
And James Casey also, he got hurt in the Saturday practice before a game against Tampa Bay one time. And this was early in Chip Kelly's time as coach. And Chip Kelly, for the next 2.5 years or so, always used that game, that one time, for why he will not talk about a player's injury status. It could be a Friday or a Thursday, whatever it is. And he's like, well, I don't want to say this guy's going to play. You saw what happened with James Casey against Tampa Bay that time. And it became like it was aggravating, because all you want to know is is this guy out or is this guy playing?
I would say when I think of James Casey, I think absolutely yoked that guy. I mean, he was getting in 3 extra pumps before anyone was in the building. I'm sure he was just in the weight room that entire time. And then I would say
not quite Victor Abiamiri level, but pretty close.
Yeah, I would say 99% of the time I asked him a question just thoroughly confused at what I was asking. That might have been a bad job out of me, but there was always a need to explain it further or repeat myself or clarify. So those are my James. Very nice guy. Those are my James Casey memories.
One other former Eagles coach on their coaching staff. Zach, can you name him?
I can't. Well, there's a few Eagles connections there, but a former Eagles coach, or
yes,
Jordan Kovacs is on that staff, and Jordan Kovacs is famous for. I guarantee you, Sheil once wrote Jordan Kovacs' name.
I guarantee you, I did not.
Yes, because in the 2014 season, when Chip Kelly was mic'd up against the Giants, and he turned. This was a Sunday night game. And he turns to a player on the practice squad, and he says, "Culture beats scheme." Okay, I guarantee you that was a Birds 24/7 write up, and the person he said it to was Jordan Kovacs.
You are sick.
You really have problems. I mean, what is wrong with you?
I recognize the name, and I didn't even remember that even I didn't remember he was on the Eagles practice squad, which I think is a big leap. Bob Bicknell is there.
Yep.
Oh, Bobby B.
There you go.
Al Golden is their linebackers coach.
Yeah. Shout out to.
Oh my gosh, Zach is. So I just Googled my name and Jordan Kovacs.
He's right.
And he is right. Kelly told practice squad member Jordan Kovacs before the game that
everyone wrote that story. Everyone wrote that story.
Well, it was 50-50 because it could have been T-Mac who wrote it, but
it could have been, or I could have just said, I could have not
Jabron.
Identified. The player.
Hakeem Adeniji, I wanted to say, and of course, former Birds with Friends official prospect Rennell Wren. But Joe Burrow, I'm going to give you some. These are just very wholesome tweets from a young Joe Burrow. Okay. Moms make all food taste better. My mom makes cereal better than I do. Okay.
I think that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm jealous. These are 2016, just very, very wholesome tweets from Joe Burrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Kid Cudi is back.
Okay, all right.
How do people not like pineapple on their pizza is the real question.
Ooh, all right. Little bark against this. The first thing I haven't liked about Joe Burrow in the last 2 years.
And then there's also a lot of very funny live tweeting of Cavs games. Stuff like, Iman, I don't think I've ever seen Iman make a shot in my life. Iman Shumpert.
Oh no.
And
Shumpert.
And K-Love's so soft with the ball, man.
Oh, man. I like those.
Crushing some Cavs. There you go.
Okay.
But what the rabbit hole that did lead me down is there's a tweet of Urban Meyer tweeting, thanks Jim McNamara and Goldman Sachs for the internship with Joe Burrow, Austin Mack, and Sam Hubbard. And there's a picture of a young Joe Burrow in a shirt and tie at his Goldman Sachs interview. And then that led me to the likes of Urban Meyer's wife.
Oh God.
And
really?
So
how many degrees of separation is this?
2. Fauci is like a French general in 1940 urging the building of a deeper, stronger Maginot Line, even as the Germans sweep around it. He's fixed on a single theory of defense and appears incapable of updating his strategy as new facts emerge. We need a more agile, dynamic thinker. And also, new COVID survival rates. If you are younger than 50, the death rate is 0.02%. Flu estimated death rate is 0.01 to 0.02%. Need to protect the elderly and vulnerable. Data says rest of us walk toward normal. Fauci fact check. Rand Paul suggested that herd immunity from COVID-19 could be reached at much lower percentage than Dr. Fauci has implied. Dr. Fauci responded by saying, I believe you're alone in that. Fauci is 100% wrong. Here are multiple sources validating Dr. Paul's argument. Slam dunk. And then, of course, if Barack Obama can nominate a Supreme Court justice in an election year, says Charlie Kirk, why can't Donald Trump?
I was going to say, Zach, go right to the ad read, but I know sometimes the sponsors want to know like the lead in to the ad read. So that would probably not be ideal here. So maybe I'll make one more point and then we can get to those. Zach was giving me a hard time for my Joe. And even, Lemur was saying a lot of Joe Burrow love out of you, Sheil, after, 2 games. But here's the deal. It's not 2 games. So, I was doing some research for another piece. And if you look at it,
Flex.
The NFL is pretty good about identifying the top quarterback in the draft. So since 1970, 22 quarterbacks have been taken with the top overall selection, and 16 of them, this is not the perfect, category to use, but have made a Pro Bowl. So you would say, some level of competence. Listen, Bo, you can do the research and tell me what metric you want to use. But that gives you
that means like if Mitch Trubisky was drafted first
fine.
Overall, that would have worked.
All right, so fine. Let's make it 15 out of 22. It's still roughly 70% that you're getting a guy with that type of floor. So it's not based off of the 2 games. It's based on the previous body of work, and then also the 2 games. So I stand by my Burrow love.
So Doug Peterson would like Joe Burrow for this reason. Okay. Well, there's a lot of reasons to like it. But Joe Burrow's, so 2 years ago, I was going to say Joe Burrow's junior season, but the transfer. So his first year at LSU transfers, he was a graduate transfer from Ohio State. The first time he practiced with his new teammates was basically like a few weeks before the season started. Okay. He did not have what you would consider the full offseason. I don't believe he had spring practice with the team. And so he was obviously much better last year than he was the year before. He was not considered the potential number 1 pick going into last season. And a big part of it, he said, was like he didn't know, his teammates didn't know his system. So that would be an example of Doug Peterson's, well, he didn't have training camp or it was a truncated training camp. And then when he had all the work with the team, he was a record-setting quarterback. Of course, this is Carson Wentz's 5th year with the Eagles, so that's not applicable. But anyways, I always think I thought when you're talking about how the draft is usually a good predictor, oftentimes who the top quarterback is going in to the season. Joe Burrow is the rare example of a guy who came out of nowhere to become the number 1 pick.
That's true. On that same topic, Michael C. says Italian accents could use some work, but you guys didn't have the practice time this summer.
That's a good line.
That is a good line. Yeah. Why don't we get to those ad reads?
All right, Zach's not paying attention. So
I am pulling it up. I'm pulling it up on my phone right here. Here we go.
Phone. Okay, flex.
It's a flex. I'm pulling up on my phone.
Yeah, you got a phone.
Anyways, talking about erectile dysfunction is not easy. Usually we just brush it off or blame ourselves, saying things like "I lost my mojo," or we avoid it altogether with excuses like "I had a long day at work," or "Sorry, honey, I'm just not feeling it." But with Roman, it is easy to talk about it with the real healthcare professional who can prescribe real medication. It's simple, it's safe, it's totally discreet. With Roman, you get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship it to you with free 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward, it's simple, and it's discreet. Getting started is simple. Just go to getroman.com/birds and complete an online visit. Erectile dysfunction used to be tough to tackle, but now there's Roman. Complete an online visit today to connect with a healthcare professional and take care of it. Just go to GetRoman.com/birds today. If approved, you'll get $15 off your first order of ED treatment. That's GetRoman.com/birds. GetRoman.com/birds.
There you go. And I published my picks against the spread column last night. 21-11 through 2 weeks. This isn't going to last long. I don't know if I'm hot. I don't know if the downturn's coming now, but you can make your own decisions based on your own research. And when you do, you want to go to DraftKings Sportsbook. Week 2 of football is in the books, and now it's time to review the tape and get ready for week 3. There is no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I use all their lines for all my picks in the column. And to add to the excitement of week 3, DraftKings Sportsbook is bringing back their can't-miss offer. If you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users the chance to turn $1 into $100 when they bet on any team. That's right. You can place a $1 bet on any team, and if that team wins, you cash a cool Benjamin. How could you pass that up? Don't worry. If football isn't for you, DraftKings is giving you all you MMA fans the same great offer to use for this weekend's UFC 253. DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TOSS when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. Pick any team during week 3, bet $1 on them, and win $100 if they win. That's $1 to win $100 when you use promo code TOSS during sign-up for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only, in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, the big game on Sunday, the Tennessee Titans going up to Minnesota to play the Vikings, looking to go 3-0. Marissa, are you sweating things a little bit on these 2-0 Titans?
I am, but I mean, they could easily be 0-2. It's killing me. Yeah. It's killing me, but we'll see.
Couple
field
goal wins.
Ryan Tannehill's coming through.
I know. Every game, I'm like, all right, feeling like, okay, I'm good with my pick, and then they
schedule gets a little tougher. It looks like.
And Jonnu Smith, a great Philly story. Jonnu Smith.
Oh, I didn't even know he was a Philly guy.
Oh, he's good. So it's a fascinating backstory here.
Zach is excited.
I mean, it's
Jonnu, John Me.
It's sad. But I don't want to mess. No, I mean it's. So,
tell the story. I want to hear the story.
Yeah. So back. I don't know the precise year, but Mayor Street. This is a sad story.
Okay.
Just prefacing it. Okay. Right. Mayor Street had a program taking abandoned cars off the road, and Jonnu Smith's father was one of the people who was doing this, and there was an accident as he was removing one of the cars, as he was towing away one of the cars. I don't have these specific, it's been a few years since I worked on this story, but anyways, he lost his father and he moved down to Florida, and he lived with, I believe, an aunt in Florida, maybe. I need to look that up too, but he still maintained, so he moved when he was young, but he felt very strong about his Philadelphia connections, even in Florida. And so I spent time with him at the Senior Bowl, and we were talking about different landmarks in Philadelphia that, in his area, I say landmarks, not landmarks, different places in his area that he still considered himself a Philadelphian at heart. So anyways, there's much more to that story. If you Googled Jonnu Smith, Philadelphia Inquirer, you would see the complete story, and that's a little more detailed. It was leading up to the 2017 NFL draft.
Google Jonnu Smith, Zach Berman. That's the right way to go about it.
Yeah, Google's that. Don't Google Sheil Kapadia, Jordan Kovac. But
I also want to point out too.
It would have been funny if there were 10 different results on Sheil Kapadia, Jordan Kovacs.
I don't want people to think I'm rude when I'm looking down at my phone during this. On Fridays, the Eagles download, so that's the piece that's being edited, and so our editor Pete is sending.
Formerly the 8-point lead.
Yes, and my editor Pete is sending me messages, and so I'm responding to those messages. So I'm not.
So pretty thirsty of Pete to do it in the middle of the episode.
No, it's my fault for when I file it. I filed it at like 9:40 this morning.
I feel like we should get Pete on the 11:30 show, and then you can just hash out the differences live for everybody.
Yeah, we gotta get a dedicated screen of him just editing the story.
No,
he screen shares as he's going through.
He's an outstanding editor, and he's so diligent. The thing I was just responding to was Javon Hargrave had pectoral and hamstring injuries, and I said he does not recall specifically when the injury occurred. And Pete was checking if I was referring to the pectoral injury or the hamstring injury.
Good question.
There you go.
All right.
Some love for the another edition of the Quarter Zip out of Zebram here.
Yeah.
Oh,
in the chat I see. So congratulations to you.
Appreciate that, Bo. And to our commenters. Yes.
Let's get to the Owl draft. The 4 players who we will be talking about if the Eagles win or lose. Sheil, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Normally I at least write down who's been taken and all, but you know what? I couldn't find a pen. I looked in the drawer. I didn't see one. And so we're just going to wing it. All right. If they win.
Wing it. Good pun.
If they win, I feel like a good one is Miles Sanders. I think he was just sort of getting his getting his legs underneath him.
Sea legs?
What does that mean? Sea legs. What does sea legs mean?
I think sea legs is like you're on a boat and you haven't been on and the boats are rocking and you're sort of you're not stable until you've gotten used to the motion of the ocean.
Oh. Indians, that's not for most.
You like to be near a water, not on a water.
Yeah, or a stable. But we want a stable boat. We don't need to.
You want a barge.
We don't need to be if this boat's a rocking, don't come a knocking. We don't need that kind of boat.
On the Miles Sanders front, little shout out here to Bo. Bo asked the question to Doug Peterson today. Miles Sanders said last week that his conditioning wasn't where it needed to be, and Bo asked if Miles Sanders is in better shape for this game, having played. And Bo, do you want to take it off from there?
I mean, he said yes.
No, he said you could sell it a little more, Bo. I sell every one of your things.
Yeah, I like this. Let's hear more. Let's hear more about this.
He said he basically said like we underrate how hard it is just to. He didn't have a full camp. Yeah, and to play a full game. He was not used as like all the other guys who were coming back from injury. Derek Barnett, Javon Hargrave, they were kind of slow played in. I mean, Derek Barnett was under 50% of the snaps. Right. Javon Hargrave was almost, I think he was 25%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miles Sanders
played 85% of the snaps.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that was a big takeaway there.
But I think that's right. I do think that like to get concussion uncly, I do think that the Eagles' best chance for success in this game is to make it a big Miles Sanders game.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what I said. Yep, that's why I picked him.
Well, I know. I'm backing you up. I said you made the right first overall picks. Is like Joe Burrow.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead. Who's up?
You want to go or you want me to go? I'll go. Okay. Somebody who we'll be talking about. For the reasons Sheil said, I'll go back to it. I will say the Bengals passing attack. Good chance that you get Tyler Boyd matched up on Nickel Roby-Coleman a lot. After a bad week last week for Nickel Roby-Coleman, if he has another stinker in this game, this guy who we were gassing up to every national reporter that we could that the Eagles got a top 5 corner, even though the entire market spoke and said he was not worth that much money for just $2 million. Maybe it wasn't such a good deal after all, and maybe we can stop taking so many of these whiffs. And so I think Nickel Roby-Coleman could be under fire against Tyler Boyd.
This national reporter was not going over the moon for a Nickel Roby-Coleman signing.
Yeah, I didn't say all national.
Maybe we're talking about your other, national reporter friends whose podcast you go on.
Well, I will wear the egg on my face. This local reporter was saying this was a good signing, and
it was a fine signing.
It was a fine signing. Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad signing, but. The bragging, the nonstop bragging about we got this guy who's a top 5 nickel corner. Like, let's wait and see.
I think what I wrote in one of the practice observations was that he gives them their best option there since Patrick Robinson, and It hasn't had through 2 weeks.
Cravon LeBlanc is pretty good. He's fine. But anyway.
Which, by the way, I thought last week, if you're going to play, your boy Mike Epps, I know, Marcus Epps. If you're going to play him as your 6 DB, I mean, I would have much rather seen a Cravon LeBlanc out there.
I totally agree.
I think Cravon would too. He had some cryptic tweets
right.
to that topic.
Good for him. Keep him coming, Cravon. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so I am up. If the Eagles lose on offense, I'm going to use my Carson Wentz card right now, right? Like, I don't know why. It's week 3.
I mean, it's week 3. Season could be over if they lose this game. You might as well use it.
I get it twice this season.
Yeah.
The outrage is already there. I mean, nationally, he's getting destroyed for his mechanics, for the way he wears his hat. Everything.
I should have worn I meant to wear a backwards hat for this.
Me
podcast.
too. I was going to wear my athletic black backwards hat.
Yeah.
Screw it up.
Instead, I'm rocking the Yu Darvish Nippon Ham Fighters jersey.
Well, should we give that 30 seconds?
Sure.
No. And
you want to give the hat or my jersey?
Bo meant his jersey. He got excited. Zach meant the hat thing. No, we don't need to give
okay, we're not doing that 30 seconds. Okay. So I mean, it's fairly obvious.
I got it in the Tokyo Dome. When I went to visit Rachel, who was, living in Japan for a year, teaching English, that's when I got this Nippon Ham Fighters Yu Darvish jersey. We saw a game. Great experience.
You got any other leftover gear from that you could give to me? A hat or anything?
No. Oh. This was pricey enough at the time.
Okay. Flex, huh?
As working as an Eagles intern.
Oh, at the time, but now both saying, give me 3, give me 4.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not quite the same as the price of working for the Eagles as an intern.
All right.
So it's fairly obvious why I went Carson Wentz there.
I feel.
And I also did get to see Yu Darvish pitch at the Olympics once, so there we go.
We had a spirited, I thought, Carson Wentz discussion on the previous podcast. And, I don't know if we went over the top on some of the points or not. I feel like people were sort of two minds. Some of them said perfectly reasonable assessment. Others felt like, you guys felt differently 2 games ago and you're changing your opinion after 2 games, which is also very fair. So, actually ESP, said this to me during training camp. He said, I can tell, Shield, by the way you talk about Carson Wentz, that you're out on him, even though you don't come out and say that. And so I've got, I've heard this here and there. So I do want to make it as clear as I can about my stance on Carson Wentz right now. So I think the most likely scenario is that for the most years in the remainder of his career, he's like between the 10th and the 12th best quarterback. Could there be years?
Very good. Yeah.
Which is good. There could be years where he's up around 5 or 6. There could be years where he's down around 18 or 19. But
that's not good. Yeah.
If you took the average, that's where it would be. And so if you look at the landscape of the NFL right now, I think it's really interesting with quarterback play because you don't have a lot of teams whose quarterbacks just suck and their offenses have no chance. So you have, I think, the top guys, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, maybe you could throw a couple other guys in there. And so I feel like you have these 3 to 5 guys who you drop them into any mediocre average team in the NFL right now, and that team's going to probably be a Super Bowl contender just by adding that quarterback. I do not think that Carson Wentz is in that category. Could he be in a given year here and there? Yes. I don't think he's consistently going to be in that category right now. So then it comes to, well, if you have a guy in kind of that second tier, which is now a big tier. I mean, it could be like 15 quarterbacks who, if you have a good situation around them, whether it's offensive line, pass catching weapons, coaching, whatever you want to say, those different factors, that they could really be good and put up a great statistical season. And so I think that's the category that he falls into right now. And that's a weird category right now because it has so many guys. It has guys who are being paid a lot of money, guys who aren't being paid any money. It has veterans. It has guys Carson Wentz's age in their prime. It has really young guys who are coming on. And so that's where I stand with him. And I am troubled by his flaws because I feel like they're flaws where it's tough to see a way of him coming out, correcting them at this point. And that's accuracy, that's fumbling, and that may or may not be durability. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to have injury issues the rest of his career. He may not, but it could be an issue, and it's something to look at. So now if like the interceptions become an issue, or if sacks become an issue, or if he loses his confidence, or if he loses his aggressiveness, then it could take a dip, and it could be a bad situation there. So that's where I stand on him. Now, having said that, I still do need to blame the organization for not saying, let's put all our resources into giving this guy a chance to succeed right now.
Preach.
And we'll find out one way or the other. You know, the Bills are an example, right? Josh Allen is in year 3. They've absolutely overturned the offensive roster. He's got a top 5 offensive line. He's got a top 5 group of pass catchers, and his play caller knows his strengths and weaknesses and is going to cater to those. And so by the end of this year, like, you might think Josh Allen still sucks. You might think Josh Allen is really good, but you're going to have a really good feeling about it, I think, one way or another after this season. And so I think where the organization has failed Wentz is that they haven't done this. I mean, I feel like it's going to be 2023, and we're going to be coming on here having a conversation about, did they do enough to help him here? Did they do enough to help him here? And you can say, well, if he's a franchise quarterback, should he need all that help? And I'm saying I don't think he is in that Wilson, Mahomes, Jackson tier where he can just put everyone on his back and the circumstances don't matter. I think he's in that second tier. And so if you're in that next tier, the organization should be pouring their resources into giving you every chance possible to make you succeed. And they haven't done that. And so now you're in this weird spot where you could be having the same conversation year after year. So that is where I am on Carson Wentz.
I think you guys are misreading, though, because I agree with what you said, but I think you're misreading the organization's interpretation to different events. I think the organization viewed like 2016 going into 2017 as that Josh Allen period. You know, that's when they signed Alshon, they trade for Torrey Smith. But and you guys laughed when I said this during the offseason. I think they misread what happened last December, and they interpreted what happened last December to be like what Carson needs right now are young guys for him to grow organically with.
Oh, I don't think I laughed at that. I think that is where they're coming from. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think I laugh at that being an appropriate read, but not that was there.
But I think like they looked at last December like, well, you know, he had all these established players there, and it wasn't really Carson's team. And then when Carson had full control, or I shouldn't say full control, when these guys, like when Carson was bringing them along, that's when they saw who Carson was. So I think, and I believe they were misguided in this, but they viewed it as building organically through the draft. And that's why you saw 3 draft picks. Now they could have used that second round pick on a wide receiver, frankly, but I don't think they wanted to go get that big name veteran. I think they wanted guys who can grow with Carson, and that was potentially a bad idea.
Well, and the other thing I will say is that even when Sheila's talking about like the top tier guys who don't necessarily need it, like, let's just go through the teams. All of these teams have gone and gotten guys like Patrick Mahomes. You know, they overpay to bring Sammy Watkins back. They've drafted Tyreek Hill. They draft Mecole Hardman in the second round. They draft a running back in round 1. They're getting all these guys for him. Lamar Jackson. They had drafted Hollywood Brown in the first round. They drafted more receivers in the middle rounds. They draft J.K. Dobbins. They signed Mark Ingram. Like,
well, I don't think that one is that dissimilar than the Eagles, though.
Yeah,
I mean, they're cheap. They're building through the draft. The Eagles, signed Rager. They have some other guys. I mean, I would say that's
maybe it makes a difference that they're good at it. But
yeah, they spent a second round pick on JJ. That's true. Don't disregard that.
Right.
You know?
But I mean, just keep going through, and like this, the guys who should be the same tier, right? Like the Cowboys, obviously, it seems like a luxury for them to draft CeeDee Lamb, but they go do it in the first round. Really, the only team I can think of who has not done it is the Packers, and at least they already have Devontae Adams. Like, and he's not Aaron Rodgers is not a young quarterback. Like, I'm trying to like think of any team. The Rams, like they're overpaying to keep Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods for the long haul.
Yeah, but like where I mean
the Seahawks, I guess you could say, but like it's crazy that they have not made it enough of an effort to surround Carson Wentz with weapons. I don't know.
I mean, this is where you're wrong. Like they just had the wrong weapons. So 2018, their second round pick is a tight end. 2019, their first round pick is a left tackle. Their second round pick's a running back. Their second round pick is a wide receiver. Okay. 2020, their first round pick is a wide receiver. Now their second round pick is a backup quarterback. But my point is, you look during that period, you're talking about 3 second round picks and a first round pick, and 2 first round picks. 3 second round picks and 2 first round picks are done literally to support Carson Wentz.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a fair point. I think the argument could be this last offseason, not recognizing that those moves you made had screwed up, were not good moves, or that you hadn't done enough, and that your quarterback's 28 years old, and that you have resources to use on Darius Slay, on Javon Hargrave, and you have options. You're on the phone with Bill O'Brien, knowing that DeAndre Hopkins is available, knowing that JJ Arcega-Whiteside isn't what you thought he was, knowing
Stephon Diggs is out there,
knowing that the lack of talent at wide receiver hamstrung the entire offense last year, and you choose not to pull the trigger and go in a different direction. So I know people are probably tired of us harping on that, but Zach's point is right, that they've tried to, the Browns, the Bills signed John Brown, the Eagles signed Deshaun Jackson, the Seahawks draft DK Metcalf.
Was John Brown Deshaun, or was that Mike Wallace?
Oh, maybe it was Mike. Yeah, I think you're right. Mike Wallace. But so still, I mean, the Seahawks get DK Metcalf, the Eagles get JJ Arcega-Whiteside. And so there are all these, they tried and screwed up, where if you say, man, if they hit on those, but at the same time, we know you're not going to hit on all those. So you have to have other means to account for missing on some draft picks. So I think it's fair to criticize them on both those accounts for not having sort of a plan B, and then for not having any type of edge in talent evaluation when your quarterback's entering his prime. All right, I sidetracked us there, but anyway.
No problem. So I am up here on the snake part, and I'm going defense in a loss. We're going to be talking about Javon Hargrave because there was so much last week that Hargrave was probably only really hit on Birds with Friends. Like there weren't that many big stories on
big
Hargrave
flex, and I like
this
it.
week. No, I mean, actually, our friend Dave Zangaro at NBC Sports Philly did a piece on him. So there were some pieces there, but like Hargrave wasn't the big story this past week. And I think a defensive tackle who you spend $13 million a year on, who we did not see the entire summer. That was his first game. His first game would typically be a big story. So here you are, Fletcher Cox. We don't know his status. If the Eagles defense struggles, I think there will be a lot of attention to that $13 million defensive tackle.
All right. Fair enough. I will go with defense win. And I will say somebody who we'll be talking about. I'm going to go with Derek Barnett. And I think Brandon Graham is probably the obvious pick here, just given how under attack Joe Burrow was from the Browns defensive line. But I think Derek Barnett, maybe he gets that little bump that Doug Peterson talked about playing his second game, and maybe makes a couple big plays. That's really all I got.
I'm sometimes troubled by Derek Barnett's playing personality. Like there was a play last week where he totally bit on a bootleg, and I don't know, I forget what the play was, but basically it went to his side where he's supposed to have contained. He hustles back, makes the tackle, and then shoves the guy after the play. Like you just screwed up that play and gave up a 10-yard gain. And now you're maybe if you get a tackle for loss and want to do that, go ahead. But yeah, I mean, we barely talk about Derek Barnett. I know he's been injured. So I think that is a good one. You definitely need something from him this season. I will go with another corner on defense if they lose. And Bo said Roby Coleman. I'll go with Avante. You know what? Actually, no, I'm going to go with Jalen Mills. I thought Jalen Mills was up and down last game. He missed the big tackle coming downhill on the big 40-yard Henderson run. And then there was another play where he got matched up with a tight end, I think it was, on a wheel route, and he got absolutely smoked. But Jared Goff did not throw the ball. I mean, it should have been a touchdown. I don't know. I can't remember if Goff was under pressure or just didn't throw the ball, but he got burned there. So Mills, safety, I mean, that's a position where the misdirection, all these different elements, they'll toy with you a little bit. They're certainly going to run the ball if Joe Mixon is in space and breaks through to that third level and is matched up with Mills and he misses a tackle. That could be a story. So I will go with him if they lose. So who have I said now? Sanders and Mills. So
I'll give you a second to think,
okay.
Shield, because it's time for us to talk about another sponsor of ours, and that is Magic Spoon, new to the fold. And I got to tell you, we had the cereal draft a few months ago, and we talked about the mark of a good cereal is that it's good, fresh, crunchy right into the milk, but also that it holds up well after it's been a little bit soggy. And I tell you what, Magic Spoon, it holds up. It still gets that little crunch towards the tail end of your bowl. So all due respect to Magic Spoon, we've all gotten our little. We didn't get the full taste test like the full Capadia family, but it's been fun, I do have to say. And there are 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry. 0 sugar, 11 grams of protein, and only 3 net grams of carbs in each serving. It tastes amazing. Honestly, too good to be true. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. So go to magicspoon.com/birds to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code BIRDS at checkout to get free shipping. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Now, I do believe that the happiness guarantee is not like overall life. It's not going to improve necessarily your life happiness, but the product that's backed by the 100% guarantee. That's magicspoon.com/birds and use the code BIRDS for free shipping. We thank Magic Spoon for sponsoring this podcast.
It could be a life guarantee. I think you should have checked on that probably before doing
the
ad read. I will go with if they lose Jason Peters on offense. I don't know if this is like a cheap one to use or not. I mean, it feels like we can say
I think one of us uses Peters every week, but it's fair.
If the offense struggles, the Bengals don't have like a great pass rush, but they've got some veteran pass rushers with a little bit of juice there. Whether it's Carlos Dunlap, they've got Carl Lawson, they've got Sam Hubbard, so they've got some guys who can.
Second Sam Hubbard reference here.
Okay, so they could.
You remember the first one?
No.
Nah, he was in the Goldman Sachs. He was in the shirt and tie at Goldman Sachs.
Joe Burrow, yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I wasn't listening to that part. So if Jason Peters comes out of this giving up a big sack fumble, a couple sacks, something in a key spot, then maybe it's just like, oh my gosh, what a disaster this has become.
Okay, this is an easy one, and it's Jordan Kovacs. No, I will say if the Eagles lose somebody who we will be talking about, it's got to be Matt Pryor for the same reasons we said. I mean, he was not good enough to hold the job after the end of camp. I think there's a good chance that he's not going to be good enough and he's going to have to lose this job again. So, if Carson Wentz gets there's a Carson Wentz fumble, we'll be talking about Carson Wentz, but we'll also be talking about, why did you feel like this guy was not good enough to play in week 1, but all of a sudden now he is? So off to you, Zach.
Burma.
Okay, so
you've got both winning.
I got wins, and you know what? Mine is gonna be a little theme here. Both wins and losses.
A little themey.
It's gonna be a shout out to the 2016 game in Cincinnati.
Oh, nice.
Okay, Eagles lost that game last time they played, and 2 guys in particular came under the crosshairs that day at Paul Brown Stadium. It was Zach Ertz and it was Rodney McLeod. Both had their toughness questioned. Zach Ertz's toughness was questioned when he failed to block Vontaze Burfict as Carson Wentz was running out of bounds.
I wouldn't be blocking Vontaze Burfict either.
That was a career-changing moment for Zach Ertz. He has talked about it in the past. He kind of vowed for people not to question him again regarding that, but also on a more personal level for him, he started he was already going toward being very spiritual, but that really pushed him there because the criticism really affected him, and he saw the way some of his close friends on the team, like Trey Burton, Carson Wentz, and Jordan Matthews, were unaffected by a lot of kind of the scrutiny from fans and by reporters. And so he was really looking for something to help center him. And so that game was a turning point in his career. And I think that he's someone we could be talking about if he has a good game this week. And then on the other side, Rodney McLeod, his effort was questioned about a tackle at the goal line. And Rodney McLeod is in a position here where the Eagles count on him to be a big player. I don't think he's done nearly enough during these first 2 weeks. They need him to help force turnovers. He's going against a rookie quarterback. Joe Burrow is wise beyond his years, but this Eagles defense under Jim Schwartz historically has really been difficult for rookie quarterbacks. So maybe Roddy McLeod gets an interception or a sack on a blitz, and we're talking about Roddy McLeod after the game.
All right. Got some breaking news here in the Wolf House. Sounds like we've got a leaky dishwasher.
Are you the one to fix that? Because you were handy during this.
I don't know if this is in my skill set.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
it depends how leaky. We have a leaky dishwasher. We throw a towel underneath every time we run it. No, if you
every time we run it, okay.
I mean, it's a minor leak. Okay. My wife would rather get a fix.
Well, this dishwasher has already been on the fritz. We've already put in the home warranty work order, but now so we're not even running it right now. But it's just started leaking. So
bubble bath for Casey.
with water that's been standing in there for a week. Okay. I'm going to go off the board here. I'm going to go in a long shot, try to make a big call here for somebody who we'll be talking about if the Eagles win on offense. And I think, in the passing game, the player who has a chance to be on the field and not really the focal point of the Bengals defense, you're going to worry about Deshaun Jackson. You worry about Ertz and Goddard. Maybe there's a chance that Mr. Johnny Hightower flips behind the defense for a big play. There was a play last week. I don't know if you saw this, Sheil, where the same play. That? Well, you said you didn't. You said you didn't watch the all 22.
I did.
Okay, yeah. Zach, Sheil, don't answer this. There was a play last week where it looked to me that Hightower ran that same sort of like 15-yard in cut that he dropped last week or in week 1, and he was open, and Wentz didn't pull the trigger this time. So you worry that there's, he could be going down the same path as JJ Arcega-Whiteside, where it's just, Sunday is just a day of conditioning where he runs his routes and doesn't even get targeted. But I think that Hightower has a chance to maybe pop some big ones. And I would rather see him as the other receiver in 12 personnel with Deshaun Jackson as opposed to JJ Arcega-Whiteside, even though Doug Peterson said today they're going to have to lean on JJ.
You think I would get funny looks if I just went to a local high school field and just ran routes for my conditioning? No quarterback. Just boom, come back. Maybe I could have Coach Flynn on like a FaceTime as I do it. Yeah, telling me fast vertical stem, stick my foot in the ground. I'd probably get knocked. I feel like my hips are probably pretty tight. The loosen. That was a big Zach Ertz
but they're
thing.
not gonna.
It's to loosen his hips at Stanford. I remember he was telling me.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to get them any looser if you don't do the workouts.
What workouts?
If you got to run those routes to get them looser.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Practice makes perfect. All right. Why don't you close this out?
I will go with, I've been guessing him up all pod. I'll go with Malik Jackson. How about this guy has like multiple sacks, a forced fumble, breaks out some like new kind of celebration or dance after it. And
it'd be nice to see this Eagles team look like they enjoy playing
energy.
Football,
My gosh, really? What a bore they've been. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah. So maybe Malik Jackson can provide that.
Okay. That's good stuff. All right, let's get to. Do we have any comments that you'd like to make us aware of?
I don't know. We're like an hour and 17 minutes in here.
You've been the comment guy in the past.
All right, fine.
You missed the pout fish last week. That was tough.
Well, let's look here. All right, this is a top 5 most attractive Eagles podcast. This is called. So I like that. After someone ripped me for was calling me some Pokemon thing last week. So
are there 5 Eagles podcasts?
This is.
Was
that a slight? I didn't even read that. Oh, you're right, Zach.
There are
gosh.
more than 5 Eagles podcasts, okay. I would say. Right. There's a comment that always stuck with me from my PhiladelphiaEagles.com days when it was like a video of me and Chris McPherson. They called me the sarcastic little guy.
I like that. Someone called one of us Milhouse from The Simpsons on our Apple podcast review. 1 star, and I don't know who the guy is who sounds like Milhouse, but he sucks or something like that. Great review. Thank you for taking the time, whoever that was. Sheil went full Brown, Larry David.
I think that was probably a preemptive Urban Meyer's wife comment.
Maybe. Brown, Larry David, that is the greatest compliment you can give to me. So thank you for that. Benjamin was actually listening to the last episode, saw this was going live, and had to go with the live podcast. Yeah, you've got to do that. Dennis is disappointed I didn't answer his question on the Eagles mailbag. You guys came in with the questions. 95 questions or something. So
wow.
I'll look, Dennis. I'll look for you next week. I apologize.
I don't know if Zach and I could combine to get that many questions.
You think Tim McManus would or no?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Big platform.
Bo is already crying, laughing. Great start. Love the BBC sounder. I need the KYW News radio sound for Zach. Well,
we can't just be stealing stuff.
That's basically all we do. I don't know what you're talking about. Coach Flynn says, have you not played quarterback in the NFL? # no layup rule, I roll. So there's a coach who thinks there are some layups for quarterbacks. Zach, people didn't know if you were excited for this pod or not.
Oh yeah, well I
think he made it very clear by the way that he nailed that opening segment that he was very excited.
That opening segment, Michael wants to spin off of that, but just market advice from Zach. Jim Cramer, you might be watching. Watch out. Zach's coming for you.
Depends on the day. Been up and down the week.
Okay.
You're only going to give good advice on good days?
Yeah. It's like Chip Kelly used to say, the good calls are my calls. Bad calls are Shermer's calls.
Z-Berm's a true journalist. Z-Berm bringing the juice. Z-Berm ready to go, fresh off the bike ride. Z-Berm carries this pod. They're 4 to row. The Z-Berm hour. 5 Z-Berm in a row.
That's not true. That's not
fantastic.
True. I'm the third banana here. And proudly
no. They're the big banana.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it PG. Michael says, I don't know. Now, I know nothing about this, but he says, I learned not to Google Z-Berm. It gives you, quote, different results than you expect. Bo, I feel like you'd be most likely able to answer this.
I would be. I don't have an answer for this one.
Are
we talking like Overton? Are we talking Kinsey scale? What are we doing here?
No, I can tell you from when.
I think we're there's big banana.
No. When my book Underdogs, the Philadelphia Eagles' emotional road to Super Bowl victory came out,
available anywhere books are sold online.
Yeah, there's a different Zach Berman who has written a health book. So clearly I didn't write that. And then there's like a skier. So I don't know if it's a reference to that, but that did come up, and I tried getting I got Instagram for this, and I tried getting it to match my my Twitter handle, but I couldn't get the same handle because a different Zach Berman had
battling Z-Berms. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is what the commenter meant, but I will say I just Googled Z-Berm and it said, "Did you mean sperm?"
Oh, I thought you meant I thought you meant my name.
Oh, that's what it is, huh?
I was like,
interesting. Okay, very well.
We got a Press Taylor's coming very soon. Here,
okay, all right. Let's do our predictions then.
Crystal ball Eagles. Go ahead, Zach.
I was already starting.
Okay. Yeah, sure, you go.
It's 4.5 point spread. I think the Eagles offense is a get right game. I think Miles Sanders will be a monster. I don't think it'll tell us too much about the team, but I think they get their first win. Eagles 28, Bengals 23.
So you don't have them covering?
No, I do. It was at 4.5 when I did.
Oh, okay. I was going based on 6. Okay, it went down. Sorry. Okay. I have the Eagles winning this game very narrowly, 24-23. So not covering here, close game. The Eagles barely need this. If they go 0-3 and I pick them 3 times to win, that looks very bad as a beat writer here. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know how many times these next 3 games I'll be picking them.
I said last week that if the Eagles lost, I would not pick them for the rest of the season. So I am picking the Bengals to win this game on a last-second touchdown from Joe Burrow. Let's call it 28-27. I do reserve the right to flip-flop if the Eagles activate Elijah Riley to the practice squad this weekend, in which case the Eagles will win 30-27 on an Elijah Riley special teams touchdown.
Okay.
All right. There you go. So that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. We will get to the Press Taylor press conference. For Zach, Sheil, and Marissa, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back on Sunday with the post-game pod. We'll be back live on YouTube next Friday, same time. And as always, did you mean sperm? We love you.